everybody, it's Wootini, and welcome to another one of my Gay Gamer video podcasts. This week, I actually have nothing new to talk about game-wise. I haven't started any new games. I'm still playing Infamous, and I still am waiting for my 3DS to come back from Nintendo. As soon as I finished Ocarina of Time, sent it in, and surprisingly, within a day or so, I think it was like within a day, Nintendo's really good with their repairs. Like within a day, they're like, okay, it's on its way back. So hopefully I'll get that back this week. Although I don't know what I'm going to play with it. Although now that I have it back, I want to try transferring over my DSiWare. You know, I never actually did that because I was afraid to do that, because just in case I sent it to them and then things got screwed up in the repair, you know, I didn't know if I'd be able to transfer them again. So I was holding off on that just in case something went wrong. But what I do want to talk about is the very interesting article that Hal posted on our site this weekend about how 90% of people don't actually finish the games they buy. And it's funny because I am definitely one of those 90%. Regular viewers might remember when I finished L.A. Noire, that was actually the first Rockstar game that I had ever finished. And the only reason it is because that's actually the only Rockstar game that had like a really, you know, solid story, and there wasn't as much side mission distraction. I mean, there were things to collect and whatever, but street crimes were the only real side missions. So, you know, it wasn't like GTA or Red Dead Redemption where there was just so much to explore and so much to see. L.A. Noire kept you kind of on a path, and you could explore all of L.A. if you wanted, but you were on a case. There was no time in between cases where you were just free roaming the whole place and then you know, spark the next case or something. They pretty much kept you on the story's path. Whereas something with Red Dead Redemption, you have to, or Grand Theft Auto, you have to go to a location to start one of the new missions, which means that you end up going in one direction to start a mission and then getting really distracted and doing all these other side missions and things and whatnot. So, and I will say that I finished the Mass Effect games because A, they're awesome and the best games ever, and B, not only is the story really good, but I feel like they're like the perfect length. You know, you don't want a game to be so short that you finish it. I mean, there are people who, like, race through games to try to finish a 40-hour RPG before their friends, and they finish it in 2 days, and I'm like, when did you sleep? But, the thing about Mass Effect is I think it's the perfect length. You don't want it to be too short where you get to the end and you're like, wait, that was it? There was nothing, what? You know, but you don't want it to be like, you know, a Final Fantasy that's like 50 hours plus, where there's, you know, I mean, honestly, with me, I play games, I mean, handhelds I can play on the train and stuff, but when I come home at night, I have maybe an hour to play a game. It's not, you know, I watch TV or whatever and make dinner and stuff, so, you know, write for the site. So I don't really have a ton of time to devote 6 hours to playing video games, which is why I've never played an MMO, because I don't have the time to devote to it. You know, I'd never level up my character, and anyone who wanted to be in a guild or whatever with me would hate me because I would never show up, I would never be available to, you know, for missions and such. And I think that Mass Effect kind of found that sweet spot where you know, the game is long enough to be satisfying, you feel you've gotten your money's worth, but it's not so long where you start to lose interest, and while you're in the process of finishing it, something else really awesome comes out, and you're like, ooh, but I wanted to play that too. You know, and I know some people were commenting in the article saying, oh, I always finish every game, and that's because they make themselves finish a game before they buy a new game. Now, I've tried this. It does not work. Because I can't resist, and I eventually end up hating the game, not hating the game, but I end up like subconsciously just becoming so disinterested in the game that I am supposed to be finishing, that I'm just like, I'm just gonna buy the new game. Or I'll find weird justifications for like, oh, well, the game I'm playing now is an RPG, but this is a platformer, so it's like a completely different thing. So I'll buy it, and that way, if I'm in the mood for a platformer, I can play this. If I'm in the mood for an RPG, I'll play that, and I'll finish them both. It never happens. You know, it just doesn't. And it's a shame because I know that there are some really good games out there that I'm missing out on some really good endings probably. But there's just so much to play and I have no willpower. And I will always buy the new game that's just about to come out and eventually not finish the previous game that I still have. So, what are you going to do? I don't know what could be done. It's not going to change me. I feel like if more games could find that sweet spot and tell a good, solid story, like L.A. Noire or Mass Effect, where you get your money's worth and you feel good, and maybe there's a couple DLC missions down the road, you know, and then I can move on to the next game. That's the problem, is I also enjoy those, you know, well, not Final Fantasy, because the last Final Fantasy pretty much soured me on the series. Those 40-hour RPGs, I mean, they're awesome, but I'm just like, oof, who has time? You know? I mean, oh my god, Skyrim is coming. What am I gonna do when Skyrim comes out? Oh. Like, I'm gonna have to take time off work just so I can get my fill of the Elder Scrolls universe. Because, oh my god, like, I'm not gonna need to buy another game for a year with something like Skyrim. Ugh. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Hopefully you can finish some games. And I'm gonna finish Infamous. Unless it gets really, really hard. Right now I'm okay, but unless it gets really, really hard at the end. I feel like the difficulty is still good. But there are certain games, like I never finished the very first Resident Evil because I tried to fight that final boss for like ever, and eventually I just said, you know what, screw it, forget it. I'm never finishing this game, and I'm okay with that. You just have to be okay with that, and not fit. Like Final Fantasy VII. Never finished Final Fantasy VII either. I am confessing all to you people right now. Never finished it. That final boss, I could maybe get through the first one, but then, you know, as with all RPGs, you beat the boss, but then he's like, but now I'm more powerful than ever! And you have to fight him all over again, but of course you're not healed, you've used up all your stuff in the first one, even if you have been trying to, you know, keep some in reserve, because you know there's a second round coming up. And he just kicks my ass every time, and I just said, you know what? Screw this. I don't need to see that CGI that badly. And if I did, I'd go find it on YouTube or whatever. So, good luck to you finishing your games, and I can't wait to get my 3DS back. And I will talk to you next week. Bye!